Alright, welcome back. So another video from the NM Beck Mathematics department. This is for the Year 10 mock exam. This is paper 2, a calculator paper, and it's question 18. So we have a look at the question. We can see it's got something to do with volume because it's given us the volume of the sphere, and then we've got a cylinder here as well. So let's just have a quick read. So the cylinder has a base radius of 2x centimeters and it has a height of h centimeters. The metal cylinder is melted down, and all the metal is then used to make 162 of these spheres. Each one of these spheres has a radius of a third x centimeters. Find an expression in its simplest form for h in terms of x. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is work out the volume of the cylinder. So we're going to have to recall how to do that. Notice that it tells us the volume of a sphere, and so we're not expected to remember that, but no indication of what the cylinder is, and actually we do need to know that. So the volume of a cylinder is given by the area of the face, which in this case is a circle, so that's pi r squared, times by the length, which is given by h. Now we're going to see what we know. So we know that the radius is 2x, so why don't we put that in? So pi times by the radius 2x, the whole thing squared. Now I'm putting that in a bracket so I don't forget to square the 2 because that's a common mistake. Times that by the height, which is h. Simplify that, so we can say that's pi times 2 squared, which is 4. X times x is x squared, times by h, and I'm just going to make that look a lot nicer by bringing the 4 at the front, so we can say that's equal to 4 pi x squared h. And we've now got the volume of our cylinder. Now if we have a look, or just remember what the question says, it says that one of these cylinders will make 162 of these spheres. So we can equate the volume of the cylinder to the volume of 162 spheres. So let's just do this over here at the bottom. So the volume of one of these cylinders is 4 pi x squared h, which we just worked out, and that's equal to, well, not just one of the spheres, 162. So we can times the volume of one sphere by 162. And it tells us over here how to work out the volume of one sphere. So that's given by 4 over 3 pi r cubed. So we're now going to work on this right hand side a little bit. Let's not worry too much about the left hand side. So lots of numbers. Maybe the first thing we should do is simplify the 4/3 times 162. Now it is a calculator paper, so we should be able to do that quite nicely. So just do 162 times by the 4, divide by 3, and you end up with 216 pi r cubed. Now it also tells us that the radius of one of them, so let's just get that back. So it also tells us that the radius of one of them was a third x just over here. So we're going to substitute that in. So 216 times by pi times by, in this case, it's going to be a third x. And again, I'm going to use a bracket because we're cubing it, and I don't want to forget to cube the third as well. So if I do that, 216 times by pi. Now a third cubed is going to be a third times a third times a third, and that will be 3 times 3 times 3 at the bottom. So that will give us 27. So you end up with 1 over 27 times by x times x times x, which is x cubed. Okay, and then likewise with the fraction and 216 at the top over here, what we're going to do is just try and simplify that. So 216 over here times by the 1 over 27, that's just dividing by 27, and that will give us 8. So we can then just say that's going to be 8 times pi times x cubed, and that will be an expression for 162 of these spheres. Now we said that that's the same or equivalent of one cylinder, so let's just work over here. So we've got one cylinder, which is 4 pi, let's try that again, so 4 pi x squared h, and that's now equal to what we've just got over here, which is 8 pi x cubed. Okay, now if we remember what the question was saying, it was saying find an expression in its simplest form for h. So now this is where the rearranging comes in. We're going to try and rearrange for h. Now we can see that h is being multiplied by 4 pi x squared. So the opposite of timesing by 4 pi x squared, let's try that again. So the opposite of timesing by 4 pi x squared is dividing by 4 pi x squared. So what I'm going to do is divide the right hand side, which is 8 pi x cubed, by whatever's being multiplied by h, which is 4 pi x squared. At this point, what we can do is divide or simplify, however you want to call it. So 8 divided by 4, it's a bit like cancelling, is the same as 2. Pi, so let's just get that back. So pi divided by, so pi over here, divided by pi disappears because anything divided by itself is 1. And then we've got x cubed divided by x squared. Well, normally we take away our powers, so 3 take away 2, and that will just leave me with 1. So you have 2x to the power of 1, but normally we just say x, and that was equal to, as you can see, h. So we have a look, and it says find an expression in its simplest form for h in terms of x. Well, we've done it. So h is equal to 2x, and there's our answer.